Indian consumer story finds a new protagonist every decade. Foreign brands in the 1990s, then came the supermarkets of the 2000s, the era of large e-commerce marketplace in the previous decade, and now, in the post-pandemic era, it is the direct-to-consumer brands. The stylists and trendsetters of New Age India, D2C has given a facelift to how India shops online by truly personalizing choice for India's 200 million online consumer base, which is the third largest in the world after China and the US. Riding the pandemic wave, these online-first brands have redefined our fashion sense, our beauty and skincare routines, and our snacking habits, to name just a few changes that we've seen around us. In just a short period of time, India has seen the rise of over 800 D2C brands with combined revenue of about $12 billion, which is set to grow fivefold over the next 5 years to touch $60 billion in market size. This as per CII. Now, as we know, expanding the market often requires the foray into brave new categories, and that's exactly the trend. From home solutions to pet care, from smart sleep to community-led brands, and from plant-based foods to sustainable living, and so much more. India's D2C e-commerce story is winning new frontiers as it captures the imagination of the consumer. Hello and welcome to Young Turks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shireen Bhan. Well, joining me now to talk about the growth of India's D2C market as we head into the biggest sales season, I have with me Sukleen Aneja, the CEO of Good Brands, part of the Good Glam Group. Also with me, Chaitanya Ramalinge Gowda, co-founder of WakeFit, and Shashank Sinha, the CEO of Drool's Pet Food. Gentlemen and Sukleen, many thanks for joining us on this edition of Young Turks. Appreciate your time. Chaitanya, let me start by talking to you about what we are seeing as far as the D2C explosion is concerned. As I pointed out, 800 brands at this point in time and counting. You started WakeFit in 2016. You moved into a new adjacency in 2020, and that seems to be the experiment with many D2C brands at this point in time. Exploring new adjacencies, exploring new categories, expanding the niches that they currently operate in. In the past, 4 or 5 years of your existence and your journey, what's been the big trends that you've caught on to, and what are you now looking forward to?
Thanks for having me, Shireen. So you're absolutely right. When Ankit and I started this company, WakeFit, in 2015 and 2016 beginning, we started off as a simple mattress company, online mattress company that would provide a really good quality product directly produced in our factories and shipped into the consumer's home without any middlemen. And that promise sort of evolved into a sleep accessories business, which means we expanded from there into accessories, bed sheets, comforters, pillows, and so forth. And then about 3 years back during the pandemic, we also expanded into the furniture range. So this whole journey has given us 3 or 4 major learnings and major trends that we saw. Number one is that a D2C brand works very, very well when you have a very good hero product, which has a lot of customer love, good NPS, and your ability to service their demand very, very fast. For us, that product was orthopedic memory foam mattress. The second trend that we saw is that it's very easy to start a D2C company, but it is very hard to scale a D2C company without a sustainable backend. So we took this call long ago, and from day one, we operate our own factories. So today we operate about 6 factories, about 16 warehouses, and we have about 200 carpenters. And it's all possible to do this because this gives us tremendous control on cost and innovation. We are able to service so much. We are able to innovate so much. And without this, if we had just been a trader who was slapping our label on top of something that a contract manufacturer is doing, we wouldn't have been able to innovate. The third trend that we have seen is customers request for a lot of content, and they're very, very research savvy, and they don't purchase anything without a lot of their own conviction being built through reviews, checking with their family and friends, and their own research on the content that the brand has put out. So without these, we believe that these 3 trends have very, very played a very important role in our growth, and that's why we are here at this point in time.
You know, Chaitanya, I think that very succinctly puts together some of the key learnings that you've experienced. And I think that speaks about the journey for many D2C brands. And you're absolutely right. One, of course, is identifying that hero product, as you said. The other, while it's easy to start, I think the challenge really is in being able to build scale, controlling your supply chain. I think that's one of the other important issues that you raise. And of course, building a community around the product by way of research and so on and so forth. I think that's the experience that many others are on at this point in time as well. But Shashank, let me cut to you now, because, you know, you were well ahead of the curve, so to speak, because you launched Drools in 2009, well before people were actually talking about formalizing a very fragmented market, which continues to be extremely fragmented even today. You've now got the likes of L. Caterton on board as investors. I want to understand from you, Shashank, like we just heard there from Chaitanya, what's been the journey, what have been the key lessons, but more importantly, as we now build out scale and make sure that this D2C story is here to stay in a viable, sustainable, profitable way, what do we need to focus on?
Thanks for having us here, actually. See, what you said correctly, very fine, that building a pet care brand in India is not easy, and building on D2C was much difficult, actually. We have our balances made of both offline and online, which is paying us result today, the way we are moving ahead. Pet care, if you see, is very challenging in terms of, because the consumer and the customers are different. The one who is buying is not going to eat your food, right? The one who is eating the food is not able to give a feedback to you. So understanding both the consumer who is going to use the product and the customer who is going to pick up the product from the shelf is very interesting. And I'm lucky to be a veterinarian and then coming to this category to understand the animal first and then the humans later, actually. So that helped us to understand what are the requirements a pet requires and how it's going to fit into the pockets of the consumer, actually. There, the price point of Indian strategy, Drools, which is a 100% home, Indian born and brought up brand, made a inroad in this category. Consumer first has been our priority since beginning. We have always understand where a consumer will be trying to pick, what are the checkpoints where customers move out of the category. So the biggest challenge for our space is the entry barriers are very high and the exit barriers are very low. The acquisition cost is very high. Where our online presence helped us to build up the content, as Chaitanya said, to bridge the knowledge gap, to understand the customer and his requirement as per his pockets was very, very critical for Drools to understand. Going forward, if I feel the way Drools is trying to bridge that knowledge gap in liaising with the veterinarians, the breeders, the influencers, who can bridge this knowledge gap is very, very critical for our pet industry to go ahead. And especially Drools, being an Indian brand, try to do as much as possible with engaging channel partners, pet parents, veterinary colleges, everybody as much as possible to reach out. But the digitalization, the content, the Amazons and Flipkarts have helped us to reach with the right knowledge to the customers. And an LCAT coming in proves our point of a professionally and in a right direction build up a brand, which I feel will be very good for us to go ahead from what we have built in last 10 years.
Yes, I would imagine that is, in fact, a big vote of confidence, getting a marquee investor like L. Caterton on board. But Sucleen, you know, let's address some of the issues that we've just heard there from both Chaitanya as well as Shashank. And I want you to explain to us, you know, how you're dealing with some of these issues across the Good Glam group. And more importantly, the opportunities that you're now looking at. I think what we're hearing now from across the D2C space is that while it's great to actually start online, the future is going to be a mix of both online and offline. Just about every brand that we've spoken to seems to be heading down in that direction. The cost of acquisition, you know, perhaps it is different for different players at this point in time, but what we are given to understand is that because there is now a greater acceptability, adoption rates are higher, perhaps the cost of acquisition has become lower, at least for brands with hero products. I want to understand from you what you're seeing as trends at this point in time, and what, more importantly, are you forecasting for the future, the near future?
I think I'm echoing the sentiments of what we've heard from the other co-panelists, but I think 3 or 4 large trends that I'd probably underscore. Number one, I think more and more consumers are open to trying new brands. And I think that's where there's a lot of excitement which digital companies can leverage, because consumers are very open to trying new brands, nascent brands, and today there are enough and more manufacturers who can cater to niches. Unlike the world we grew up in, where mass marketing required you to go to the lowest common denominator, versus that today you can really capitalize a powerful niche if you have a good offering. I think the second big trend that one sees is that invariably consumers want to experience brands. Even if they hear about your brands, they do want to touch and feel your products. So hence, omnichannel is the way to go across industry, because I think all of us on the table are passionate about building brands. And I don't believe brands can ever be built unless there isn't an experiential leg to your products. The third important sensitivity, I would say, that is a concern for D2C players who are playing in highly competitive segments. So if you look at beauty and personal care, it's a $30 billion segment. Almost nearly half of it is between personal care and makeup. Extremely competitive. In the last decade, we've seen many new brands being born. I think the big challenge is commoditization. How do you really create distinctiveness for your brand versus others, especially online, where many brands now seem like Me Too's? So I think that becomes one challenge. And last not the least, I think supply chain efficiency becomes extremely critical, because one of the things that D2C allows you to do is access to first party data. So your ability to upsell, cross sell, have the data to actually be able to understand your consumer's full funnel, I think is a huge help for marketers, especially as they think through their entire full funnel advertising from awareness to purchase. I think that's the power of the data that makes you a lot more efficient. But I think at the same time, what none of us can shy away from is, I think we do need to create distinctive brands that continue to give consumers products which are worth repeating. So the holy grail continues to be repeats. And I think that is one thing which all of us are fighting for.
Oh, absolutely. You're right in saying that customers are willing to experiment, but that also means that it's harder to instill brand loyalty and get customers to stick. So what does it take to create stickiness? That is what we will discuss when we return after this very short break. Stay on with us. You're watching a special edition of Young Turks. We're back in a minute. Welcome back. You're still with us here on Young Turks, and we're talking about the D2C market with Chaitanya Ramalinga Gaure, the co-founder at WakeFit, Shashank Sinha, the CEO of Drool's Pet Food, and Suklina Neja, the CEO of Good Brands, the Good Glam Group. Chaitanya, let's address the issue that Suklin left us with just before we took that break, and that is the issue of commoditization, the issue of competition, and the issue of stickiness. Now, from your own experience, I want to understand, you don't have the ability to hit the market with unlimited number of SKUs, etc. So, what do you chase? Who do you chase? At what price point do you chase? I would imagine this is different for different categories. But explain to me what your lessons have been on that front, and what would you suggest somebody who's scaling up a D2C business today to focus on?
Sure, Shireen. I think as a D2C founder, the easiest temptation is to raise a lot of money and get most of your revenue from third-party marketplaces as well as through general trade. I'm seeing recently that a lot of D2C founders are going offline through the general trade and modern trade channel as young as when they are 50 crore, 100 crore in annual turnover. Please note, I called them temptations because that gives you revenue, but that probably will give you the right foundational building blocks for scale. The biggest thing that you can do as a founder is to build your own website, your own app, and ensure that you have a very strong connect with the customer pre and post purchase. For example, in a category like ours, with sleep and furniture and home solutions, customers have a lot of doubts. How does it fit into my home decor? How does it fit into with other furniture that I have? How do I know that this particular mattress works well for me? How do I know this sofa the fabric is good quality? And there's a ton of doubts that they have, which we can constantly use our experts to sort of get their comfort, get their alignment, get their trust. And once that product is delivered and the same trust is delivered upon, we also take a lot of effort to engage with them post-sales, which means, how did you like the product?
Right.
How did you like the packaging? What could be improved? By the way, this is the care instruction. This is what you can do to extend the life of the product. This is how you can take care of the hygiene of the product. That automatically builds a lot of recall in their minds and a positive association. Today, we have nearly 42% of our revenue coming from repeat customers. And that's primarily because of word of mouth. No amount of marketing dollars can ever take care of that kind of love. And our ability to have India's largest furniture factory, operate world-class mattress factories, then integrate that value chain to deliver a good quality but highly affordable price point, and then identify the demographic and psychographic profile of the consumer, and then engage with them pre and post purchase is a strategy that we have taken. And please note, I mentioned psychographic profile because that old classification of looking at your consumers as NCCS A1, A2, A3, B1, looking at what languages they speak, which cities they live in, I think that is a little bit obsolete. And we as marketers also have to look at changing, because currently it's a psychographic profile. What do they consume? What data do they look at before making a decision? Who do they speak to? Whether it is somebody earning 2 crore a year or somebody earning 5 lakhs a year, how do they look at value proposition? What is value for money and what is considered wasteful? I think a lot of it is behavioral now, and that ability to target them on behavioral is not provided by any platform. You cannot go to Google and say, I want to look at all people who have this psychographic profile. You cannot go to Facebook and say, I want to target people who behave like this or consume this. So the thinking of saying everybody can be bucketed into neat demographics and then you can just bombard them with messages may be slightly obsolete. So I think this journey has taught us.
It's not just about personalizing product, but it's also about personalizing messaging, as you point out. But let me bring Shashank into the conversation on that same point. Shashank, for instance, as far as your own company is concerned, the decision to sacrifice which price point you should be in and which price point you should not be in, that would have been a strategic decision as well. So as you try and build out getting more and more share of wallet, what's been the experience? Did you start premium and then go mass, start mass and then go premium? Today, everybody's talking about the premiumization journey, and perhaps on the D2C space, the premium niche might be, because of the early adopting fashion, the easier one to crack into. What's been the experience for you?
Premium looks very attractive for everybody because you make more money out of the same cost what you're going into in the major structures of services and all. But I feel mass or economy is the one who is going to feed the category actually. So you have to bring the people. In our category, 92% of pet owners still feed home diet. So the first challenge for the brands like us is to bring them into the category with maybe an economy brand or a mass brand. Then upgrade them to a premium product lines which are available. Like in our category, see there are products which are grain-free, specialized pet food for obese dogs, specialized pet food for renal affected dogs. So, but these doesn't happen at one go because customers are still used to the home diet because they have seen their generations feeding the same home diet and their dog living for 10 years or 12 years. So the difficult part is to change the food habits. If belong to North, I will look for a paratha every time, right? So, but same happens with a pet as well. So we're learning the trend where the customer can come into the category, stay for some time, maybe get into premium line of products in a specific time throughout the year or in the life of the pet. And then once he tries the premium product, stays on it for a longer time because of the value he drives from the premium product lines. So very important to keep feeding the category, keep adding on people, and then upgrading them to the upper categories. Other challenge what pet care space feels like once the dog becomes an adult, people start thinking that there's no growth coming in and I can manage with the home diet. But we have to understand the nutrition part is very different for a pet compared to what a human gets. So there again, what a product line is going to offer has to be very specific. As Chaitanya said, like largely how the brand is communicating. Am I able to tell them what the product line is talking about, what the benefits or the functional benefits a brand is going to deliver? Same product line is available at a pet food is at 300 rupees kg. There's other pet food at 800 rupees kg also. Is the customer understanding the benefits with the price gap? So adding people to the economy range of the category, let them come to your fold, make them empowered, make them knowledgeable, and then upgrade to the premium category. That's what we have been doing for last 3, 4, 5 years now.
Right. So build out the category to start with before you actually move towards premiumization. But Sucleen, the point that you were making as far as differentiation is concerned, so that there isn't confusion at the end of the customer as to what they're actually buying into. And I think this is the dilemma that a lot of founders face. How much should you dabble in? What should you dabble? And sometimes it ends up being a bit confusing at the customer end. What's been the experience on that front? And as you build, various niches out under the Good Glam Group, what are the guiding levers that you're operating with today?
I think great question, Shireen. One of the things we've tried to do at our end is to maximize incrementality. So a large part of our journey's growth has come on the back of acquisitions. So the journey on Good Glam started with MyGlam in 2017. And since 2021 and beyond, we've actually acquired 4 more brands within the group. And each one of the brands that we picked to join hands with were brands that were extremely distinctive in the space that they were playing with. So whether it was Sirona, which was a pioneering brand in femme hygiene, they're today the largest manufacturers of menstrual cups. So it's a category creation job to be done. Or if you look at a business like Momsko, which is a pioneering brand for mom and baby products, but again, within personal care, no one was really looking at the segment of moms and creating bespoke products for them. Or for that matter, when we look at brands like Saint Botanica or Organic Harvest, again, they're offering either premium ingredients, which were extremely exotic, or organic certified products. So within the entire portfolio that we built within the brands business, one very clear reason to exist was incrementality. Pick a brand that plays A, to a segment which it can own. B, ensure that all the brands that we work with are within the clean beauty space, because you are today talking to the native digital consumer, people who are willing to pay that premium for buying clean beauty. So again, as a company, have a very clear point of view that you are creating a bunch of brands where you are targeting a premium consumer, you are targeting a consumer who's willing to pay that extra for toxin-free, clean products. So I think for us, a guiding principle has been to look at non-overlapping beauty segments and very clear brand positioning so that we can create incrementality within the beauty and personal care space, and having the discipline to not go beyond the field of play that we've identified for ourselves.
Yeah. So put the guardrails as far as the brands are concerned. Very quickly, Sucleen, the priority now as far as the Good Glam Group is concerned, leave me with one number, one target that you're hoping to achieve.
I think scale with profitability.
By when?
That would be the mantra that we are following.
Profitability by when?
I think we are clearly targeting for us to get profitable by Q1 of 24.
Q1 of 24. Chaitanya, to you, the one target that you're going to be chasing after?
Customer experience and NPS during the festive season, when we are going to be scaling 2x of orders, still maintaining that threshold would be something that we dream about.
And back to profits?
We are already a profitable company, so we would want to continue on this journey in a sustainable manner.
Okay. Shashank, the one target that you're chasing after?
To build up the first multinational pet food brand from India as it roots. Maybe another 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Another 2 years to build out India's first MNC pet food company for global markets. Shashank, Chaitanya and Sucleen, many thanks for joining us. We wish each one of you the very best of luck. Thanks for sharing your insights on your own D2C journeys. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Young Turks. From all of us here, thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues.